Hi everyone, my name is Taylor Vasquez and I'm Brookside Studios project manager. Last time that I was on here, I talked about using emojis in your email headlines. And today I'm going to do something that's actually was highly requested, which I don't know why really, because my world is kind of boring. A lot of dates, a lot of numbers, a lot of expectations, but you know what? If everyone wants to, hear about this topic, I'm gonna give you what you want. So without further ado, today we're gonna talk about going from zero to project manager. So this is mostly for people that are, I guess, the unofficial project manager. Like
when people do this, I don't really know what that means.
Your boss gave you a task to do, or you're starting to manage your own projects. You just have no clue what to do. Have no fear, it's okay. I'm here for you. Follow me, okay? We're gonna do this together. Is that a puppy? So to start off, I'm gonna give you some statistics about project management. About 39% of projects actually get done on time and as scheduled. It is kind of low. And that's with people that aren't really formally trained, or even some companies are a little bit low on the maturity level. And then 44% of projects are actually completed on budget. Again, the number is kind of low. You want to always consistently get those budget numbers at least aligned or technically underneath. In fact, under budget is really good, okay? And then only 53% of projects actually meet their intended goal. So that's kind of, half and half. You want to always, like I said, keep those numbers up pretty high and keep those consistent. And that was a study done by PMI, which is Project Management Institute. Am I out of focus? But that's okay. For those who are new to project management, I'm going to give you a few little tips on how to make sure that you don't fall within those statistics. One thing to remember, or what I like to remember, is this key equation. People plus process equals success. So who sees themselves more as people? People. Or who sees themselves as more as process people? Who sees themselves as a little bit of both? If you didn't see, my cameraman was like, it's me too. In many cases, project managers, especially ones that have been formally trained or even ones that haven't, they tend to follow really heavily on process. And that kind of leaves a big blind spot to the people that are actually working on the project. You want to be able to balance both process and people so that you can equal success. It's so hot. Okay. So being a project manager, you want to be able to balance both of those aspects. You also want to be a really good listener. You also want to know your team members, their strengths, their weaknesses, and sometimes they're even hidden talents. You never know when those kind of come in play. So now that everyone now loves you and you've already mastered being a people, being a people person, people. So now that you have mastered being a people person and that everyone loves you and you've mastered everything, you know everyone's hidden talents, strengths, and weaknesses, I'm going to talk to you more about process. So I have a 5-step process, which is discovery, planning, execution, monitor and control, and closing. Phase 1 is discovery. So this is when you find out about the project. This is when the client kind of comes in and you guys kind of talk about high level stuff, about expectations, what the goal of the project is, what he or she doesn't like or doesn't want, yada, yada, yada.
My old boyfriend came over late last night and yada, yada, yada. Anyway, I'm really tired today.
So this is the part where you want to answer, ask as many questions as you can at this point, so that when you go to the next phase, you'll be able to effectively communicate it. All right, phase 2 is planning, which is actually kind of my favorite part because I like to know everything and plan for literally everything. and a tad bit crazy. Like there's some projects where I have up to like plan C, D, and E just in case if something happens. I know it's a little crazy. So during this process, you want to lay out the whole project from having a good scope to budget to timeline, even calculating risks, whether they're positive or negative. I know, I just saw you kind of raise your eyebrow at me thinking, positive risk? That sounds like an oxymoron. Let me give you a little tidbit about positive risk. I know it sounds a little weird, but hear me out for a second. So obviously we know what negative risks are. That's like you have, so many projects and they're just not getting done. Maybe the workload is, overfilling and everything's just going a little crazy. Maybe a negative risk is one of your team members, his skills are a little too slow, or maybe he doesn't consistently check his progress. As far as positive risks go, it's kind of a double-edged sword in a way. So if you think about it like this, a positive risk is you have an event that you've planned, and you planned that 500 people are coming, so you've catered for 500 people. Well, you find out maybe like a week before the event, actually 1,000 people are coming. So in a sense, it is positive that you have more people showing up to your event, but it's a negative risk because now you have to figure out how to feed 1,000 people off of a 500 people catering budget. Okay, moving on. So step number 3 or phase 3 is execution. So now that you have, you had your discovery, you've already planned out the whole project and everything's been approved, it's time to execute it. So that's what it is. It's very simple. You and your team get together, heads down, get that project finished. Next is phase 4, which is monitor and control. In a sense, it's not really phase 4. This kind of happens throughout the process. And this kind of comes into play technically around the end of discovery to planning. So monitor and control is it's for you and your job to make sure that if you have to put out fires, put them out as quickly as possible, hold people accountable. And if you see any calculated risks, that you are ready to implement your solutions that you have. Number 5 is closing. So that is when the project is done, the client is happy, you have fulfilled every single aspect of the project scope, you've done it. Congraturitos.
You should try it sometime. It's like a cleanse for like your face.
They're bangs. They're great. Congraturitos.
Now that you have watched this video with me, which by the way, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I'm gonna give you guys little extras here. So I'm gonna talk to you about 2 of my favorite books that I actually have read and I really liked for project management. So if you need, or if you want to dive in more, especially if you're going from 0 to project manager, here's some of my books. One of my favorite books is actually this one. It's the Project Manager for, it's Project Management. Sorry, let me do that again. So this really breaks it down to something you can really easily understand. It is kind of a little ornery here and there. They have some really good tips as well as some templates in here if you want to actually practice some of these. And my other favorite book is The Idiot's Guide to Project Management.
Hey! Who are you calling an idiot?
This book is actually really great. Surprisingly, the title here, Idiot's Guide, really, I promise you it is. It has really great templates, equations, that even helps you calculate risk, whether they're positive or negative. Overall, this book is a great read, especially if you are kind of new to this, or if you just kind of want to learn some extra little things here and there. Also, since you guys have been so wonderful, in the description box, whether if you're on YouTube, will be down below, or if you're on Facebook, which will be above me, I should be above me, we have provided you guys a link to some templates so that you guys can also exercise some of what you've learned today. Sounds great? I know, you're welcome. Well, thank you guys so much again for watching this video. I am Taylor Vasquez with Brookside Studios. I'm their project manager. And next week, it's going to be a collab with me, Destiny, and Kristen. We're going to answer some marketing questions that you guys have sent us, which thank you so much. Like, it was, the amount of questions that we got was that was crazy. Some of them were really good. So I'm so excited and so eager to answer your guys' questions. So see you guys next week. Perfect. And cut.